What's up, everybody? This is Corey from How To Tech, and we are going to replace the charge port on this iPhone 7. First thing we need to do is go ahead and remove the two screws to the left and right of the charge port down here at the bottom. Now this is harder than in prior repairs of charge ports, so just keep that in mind as we're going through this. We're going to go ahead and remove the screen by heating it up and inserting a pry tool down here at the bottom. I like to use one of these metal Disassembly tools, these really thin pieces of metal, and then transfer to something plastic like a guitar pick. Something that won't damage the black portion of this bezel. Let's go ahead and move the guitar pick down both sides of the phone, being nice and slow. It doesn't have to go in very far, essentially just barely like a millimeter. That way we don't damage the display of the phone at all. Go ahead and start to separate it from the adhesive. You might see some black strings still stuck to it. That's okay, just go ahead and pry those apart. I'm going to go ahead and wiggle it from the top, left and right. We need to get the top loose. It has a couple of feet at the top to kind of hold it in place. I'm going to open it up like a book. You can see the two ribbon cables there. And once it is open, then we can go ahead and remove the screws holding the phone portion. And the LCD is going to come off first. We need to undo these four screws, which are Y000s, and I'll throw a link to that tool down in the description. Pop open the battery, the two display connector ribbons. We need to work on the camera speaker ribbon cable up here at the top. Take this screw off first, then go ahead and close the display, and you can take off the screw easier. On the opposite side, remove the little bracket. We can go ahead and pop this cable off as well. Remove the screen. Now, we don't have to remove the battery out of the phone to do this repair, but it is easier. And essentially, to do this repair, you're going to gut the entire phone apart. Really, the only thing you're going to not remove is the power volume cable, which is kind of ridiculous to get this done. But in case you have to do it, we're going to go ahead and remove the battery. And it basically uses some pull tabs, kind of like a command strip that you use to stick pictures on the wall. We're going to go ahead and just pull this plastic portion back here. And if you do rip one of these, I do have a video that'll show you how to remove it once it's ripped. But we're going to go ahead and just pull this back and remove the adhesive from underneath the battery. I'm going to try to speed this up as much as possible. This video is going to be extremely long. I'm just going to keep pulling. And get a lot. You'll think to yourself, how can I pull this anymore? And it'll still keep coming. And eventually just kind of pop out. Just wrap it on your finger and keep pulling nice and even. If you can take out the Taptic engine down there, it may cause the adhesive not to rip, although I find it essentially the same for me either way. It rips about, I'd say, 30% of the time anyways. Just pulling it out nice and slow and consistent. Let's see, just kind of snap back. Alright, now we have the battery out. We'll remove these four screws to remove the bracket at the top of the phone. There is one it's into the side of the phone, so don't forget that. It'll be hard to take this bracket off. Once that is out, that will reveal another connector that we'll need to remove. There's two screws holding this in place also. Remove that bracket once those two screws are out. Next, we can go ahead and work on the camera. There's one on the left and right side of the camera, kitty corner from each other. Go ahead and remove both those screws and then pop the connector up. With that done, we can go ahead and remove the camera out of the phone. There's one more screw just right above where the connector was at. Go ahead and remove that screw also. We can go ahead and pop up the connector right to the right of that screw also. There's two screws holding this bracket in with a connector at the top up here. We're going to go ahead and remove both of those. We can remove the bracket off of that portion and pop up the ribbon connector here also. Now we can remove four motherboard screws. We'll remove all four of these screws using a flat screwdriver. And if you haven't already taken out your SIM card slot, make sure you do that as well. It will not remove. Remove the two wire cable connectors down here at the bottom. Let's kind of pull those out of the little slot that they are in. Undo the charge port connector. Now we can go ahead and remove the logic board out of the phone. Just try to hold these connectors back. Go ahead and set that aside. Make sure that sits in a safe place. Now that we have that done, we're going to remove the two screws towards the bottom left of the phone that's housing the Taptic engine ribbon cable. Remove the little bracket that's covering that, and that will reveal the cable connector for us. Go ahead and pop that up. remove the 3 screws holding the Taptic engine in place. With those 3 screws removed, we can go to remove the entirety of the Taptic engine. Next will be the loudspeaker. To do that, we're going to remove these wire cable connectors out of the holders. We may have to use a little pry tool to get this one out without damaging it. There's little metal shields on them that kind of snap them into place. So just kind of wiggle it and be nice and gentle when you're doing it. You don't want to damage that wire connector at all. There's 4 screws in the loudspeaker. We're going to go ahead and remove all 4 of those screws. The bottom left one may stay stuck in the loudspeaker, and that's okay. There's a little bracket there also. It should all come out in one piece. Now we have 5 more screws. 2 are into the bottom of the phone. They're covered by these little black stickers. It can be a little bit hard to see, so make sure you remove those. Once those are out, we can go ahead and start to peel the charge port cable up. And if you're not worried about damage, if it's not functioning, you can just kind of rip it out. You may need to use a pry tool to kind of get it out as you're removing it. There is a bracket on the left of the charge port. And when we reassemble it, I'll show you how that goes in. Just make sure you don't lose it. It's still adhered into the phone at this point. If you can see it on the charge port, it's almost where my spudger is now, in the upper left-hand corner of the charge port itself. Just a little shiny piece of metal. We'll go ahead and remove that. And the mics are adhered to some plastic pieces down at the bottom of the phone. And you may end up pulling one out as you're removing your charge port. You'll have to separate that and put that back in the phone before you put your new charge port back in place. Hope this video was helpful. I tried to speed it up as much as possible. Don't want to make it a 30-minute video. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one. Peace.